I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no harm by the things we do or the trouble that we get into. Other than a wild hair once in a while, we can't help it, it's just our style. Good old boys is all we'll ever be.
It's the best part of the song, man.
Nice.
Gotta like the piano play in there. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter
Go
Show.
ahead, you're back.
I'm back. I'm glad to be back.
I want you to take over that part of the show.
All right. Welcome to the show, Ash, Brent. Called a Wednesday. I don't know what else to say. It's been so long, I forgot what I got to do.
is in. Terry Murray's in. All is right with the world.
First three in, though. On the podium this morning, Ricky King, Mark Kurt, Scott Tomko. Some things never change, it seems.
Right? Ricky King helped me yesterday. You were gone. Obviously, you know this.
Yes.
But I was visiting, in theory, you know this. I was visiting with Andy Rokovich, and he and I got off talking about there was a little protest while you were gone.
I heard about that. Supposedly 500 people. I'm not sure it was that big because estimates are.
No. The pictures
I saw, maybe 100.
I heard 100. Yes. And good deal. It was a nothing burger. No, there was no violence. It was mostly peaceful. But he and I got off talking about that because what he didn't dwell on is that he called me the day of the
protest
and told me that he was spat upon by a member of the crowd. And that in a little while, the police showed up and Ricky King said, "Hey, y'all get back to talking about the school board." And I appreciate that because I will digress. I mean, thank you. And it worked out well. By the way, Ricky, you've been banned from the program for talking back to the host, but not really. No, I'm joking. I really appreciated you doing that. Let's do the Wade and Carter weather.
Yes,
it's brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. It's 53 degrees in Victoria under clear skies, heading to a high today of 83.
Nice.
And I'm convinced, Commander pointed out that it's that 30-degree temperature swing that I think somewhere in there, it ignites your allergies. It just pops you. Be aware that there's lots of pollen in the air. And for those of you that don't know, there are adult onset allergies. There are things that, I've never been allergic to cats in my life. And all of a sudden, every time you're around a cat, you break out. I don't remember the last time I touched a cat.
Air quality index, according to the Weather Service, is good today.
I don't remember the last time I pet a cat. I don't.
It's been a while.
And I haven't missed it. But I'm saying now I may touch it and end up.
Yeah. I was good with cats till like 12. And then my cousin had a cat and I went up to Edmonton to spend the weekend with him. And the whole weekend I was just sneezing and itchy eyes. And now they don't bother me as much.
Bring back a bad memory for you. Did you get cat scratch fever?
I must have, yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
But I never had an allergy to anything in the air until I moved to Texas.
That's because we've got some stuff in the air down here.
Nobody else has it.
Yeah. So Riker's falling in love with it. That sound you hear in the background is he's falling in love with a golf ball. And that's fine. He's behaving.
It's probably JP's PGA tournament golf
He stole it. Yeah, it's got some U.S. Open
Yeah,
logo
I think
on
Tiger
it.
Woods.
And
Tiger Woods signed it.
Yeah, a smudged signature.
Sharpie's not on it anymore.
Yeah,
There's a smudged signature. Starts with a T, ends in a W.
And just like that, it's just a golf ball again.
Bobby Leister, good morning. Linda Chris checking in. Jordan Glass, Micah Patton, Terry Murray, and a Scherer. Good morning. Paul Ebner, Greg Garcia, Monty Howard, Zed Stewart, Tammy Keeling, Sherry Jacobs, Wendy Garcia, Stephanie Connie, Bobby Sparkman, Lisa Poole, Mark Kurtz. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Mark.
Andrew Alvarez says he is, what is this? He's suspending his campaign with Ken Paxton entering the race. He's stepping aside. I'm not endorsing him. The fight was never about me. It's about removing John Cornyn.
Amen. And Andrew being very selfless. We appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, sir. Sad to see it because I think you were making some inroads, and I followed your stuff on social medias, and I think you were doing a pretty good job. But
yes,
yeah, well, I think with Ken in there, about time. And it brings me up to a point because listening to stuff over the weekend, it's amazing how Jasmine Crockett is going after Ted Cruz.
Good luck.
Well, she wants him dead. I mean, she basically said, we need him removed out of here, whatever. I mean, it basically was a hit.
You think she
order.
wants to run for Senate?
No, I think she wants to kill him or wants somebody to step in and kill him. Honestly, I think the left is at that point now where they're trying to thinly veil their words, but they're hoping there's some nut job that will come out there and actually kill somebody.
There are things that the left says that if Donald Trump said them would get him impeached.
Yeah. And what did she say? We need to take Ted Cruz down, I think is what she said.
Yeah.
So.
And then when he gets shot, well, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
I meant politically.
Yeah. BS.
Yeah. John Cornyn, though.
But they're not going. There's my point. Thank you for bringing me back to it.
Yes, sir.
But they're not going after John Cornyn. Why? Because when and if they really need John Cornyn for something, like continuing resolutions, debt ceiling increases, pushing the Democrat agenda, they know that they can count on John Cornyn.
Absolutely. So in your absence, I had to step up my content game.
Okay.
And I've told you folks for years that when Ash and I agree on something, our brain functions. We come at things from different angles. And when we agree, it's just been my observation, we're right. And it's just because it's been vetted two different ways. We don't both think the same. And I want to share with you one that just by watching what's going on, that picking up the big picture from the Main Street media, what's going on, there's something at play here that's worth sharing with you. Yesterday, President Trump signed 4 executive orders related to the coal industry. One is basically says it denounces any discrimination against the coal industry when compared to other forms of energy. Another one was to open up the coal industry's ability to renew and sign leases involving federal land. Now, this is not mining for coal at the base of, Half Dome in Yosemite. The United States government owns millions and millions and millions of acres of land.
They're not going to go strip mine Mount Rushmore.
No, and they're probably not going to strip mine anywhere. But I heard an energy expert this morning, 5:30 this morning, talking about that at current levels and discounted with not taking into account technology, just where we are now, that not only is the U.S. the largest resource for coal on the planet, but the U.S. has enough coal to last at current levels for 485 years. And that's just the coal we know of. Surely, over the next half millennia, we will find a way to embrace nuclear power. So remember back when Trump said that the Paris Clean Air Accord was bad, and he was correct, the Paris Clean Air Accord did nothing to curb the amount of coal that was being burned, if you will, to create energy in the world. It only reassigned who could burn it. Basically, the left, in their climate change hysteria, remember when the solar ice caps were all going to melt and Galveston was going to be underwater? Yeah, did I say solar?
Yeah.
Hasn't happened.
The solar ice caps melted
long ago,
millennia ago.
They melted. I wouldn't melt. But it's not happening. Galveston's not underwater. It didn't happen. I'm old enough to remember when the same "you must follow the science" scientists were telling us emphatically that we were heading for a new ice age. I remember it as plain as day. And they were saying, man, you could have glaciers going down through Manhattan again, which is what formed a lot of Manhattan Island.
You're really old.
I am old, but I was talking to a dinosaur about it at the time.
You and Fred Flintstone were having brontosaurus ribs.
So you'll recall that
all.
You had coal credits and you could sell your credits. And while we're trying to do away with coal, and by the way, we burn a higher grade of coal,
clean coal,
and we burn it in a more contained way where we scrub it and we take the soot out of the steam, if you will. We do that better than anybody on the planet, while India and China are just shoving it into the boiler.
Yep.
Okay. Number one coal consumer on the planet, China. Guess who just the other day levied 140% tariff? That'll show us on American exports. China. Now, if you don't see the obvious correlation of Donald Trump, you're witnessing the chess match right now. China needs the coal. We have in the past exported coal to China. They need the coal. They want the coal. Trump's throwing a bone to the American coal miner, and now he's dangling that carrot in front of China. Do you want it?
And overnight,
some of this coal?
We hit China with 104% additional tariffs, 20% tied to their fentanyl trafficking role, which what's really interesting with this, and the Canadians refuse to admit this, but it turns out Canada's become a huge fentanyl factory for China, and then they sneak it across the northern border. So Donald Trump wasn't wrong. Despite
again, he wasn't wrong.
Despite the number of illegals coming across from Canada to the U.S. is low. And yes, haven't really caught a lot of fentanyl, but somehow the Chinese have gotten really good at sneaking it past Americans from Canada.
I love this. It basically says, this is from, where are we at? Epic Times. So I'll read it the way it is, and then I'll tell you what it means. It says, these tariffs have stacked up quickly, 20% tied to Beijing's role in fentanyl trafficking, 34% reciprocal, and another 50% was announced this week in response to Beijing's retaliatory tariffs. What that really means is 20% for fentanyl, 34% reciprocal, and another 50% just because I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump did. Hey, take another 50%. So they're at 104%. And what does China do? China and Canada, the two countries that just don't get it yet have both said, Neener, we're going to reciprocate you too. We'll show you. Meanwhile, the European Union, Israel, 70 other countries, Mr. President, can we just work on this 0 for 0 deal? I like where your head's at, man. Bangladesh, we reported yesterday.
At immense costs for U.S. consumers and businesses.
It's working.
But at the same time, they have a massive impact on the global economy. Especially hard hit are the developing countries.
That's what I played yesterday.
And this is a major turning point for the United States.
For me.
Nonetheless, we stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal. So we keep it on the table.
Yeah, so see, there you have it. She admits We've had 0 for 0 with lots of our trading partners over here, Germany and England, Poland, and whoever. But then all of a sudden, we've been putting it to the United States because we didn't want their industrial goods over here.
Well, and it was a way for the EU to stick it to the U.S.
To the
economically.
Yeah. Did you see that?
So 50 countries now ready to do 0 for 0 tariff bidding, or at least get back to the table with the U.S. The Israel one is interesting, but Japan ready to make concessions. In fact, Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba says he'll fly to the U.S. to make the deal.
How about that?
The United Kingdom said we've got to make this work. Vietnam hit with a 90% tariff, said they've already spoken.
Lots and lots of textiles. Vietnam makes lots of material.
Cambodia, Thailand, a lot of places, India.
27% tariff.
South Korea. I mean, there's probably some national defense issues with South Korea as well. Australia, Argentina. Argentina was one of the first ones.
Yeah, and genius. And that's when Eric Trump said, I'd hate to be the last guy to the table.
Yeah, apparently Canada is one of those, but I'm not buying it.
Listen, go back down. I was on my first.
Oh, geez, don't do this. No, there it is.
On my first day on the job as prime minister, I will call the president and demand. It's just not starting off good there, Mark. You're puffing your chest out, but this is international news. On my first day on the job as prime minister, I will call the president and demand that we rapidly renegotiate CUSMA agreement.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That down here, that's the USMCA.
That's Canada. It's NAFTA. Yeah. On a very tight timeline that will allow us to find certainty. Now, here's something interesting that I sent to you, but you clearly haven't read yet. In 1990, America was the top exporter to 175 countries. China was the top exporter to 8. By 2000, 155 to 15. By 2010, 85 America, 55 China. By 2024, 35 countries received the majority of their goods from the U.S. We were the top exporter to 35 countries. They got more stuff from America than anybody else. China, 125 countries.
And when did they start tracking this?
They went back as far as 1990. It was 175 to 8 U.S. Now it's 35 to 125 China. That matters.
35 years, China has taken over.
And we've let them, and we've helped them.
Because we want cheap rather than American. And the unions have played a huge role in this. Don't get me wrong. The unions have demanded absurd wages for Americans to make products that probably should cost half of what Americans manufacture and sell them for. I'm not saying we got to get back to $1 a day labor like in China and workers jumping off factory roofs because they can't handle the conditions, and life would be better dead than working in a Chinese factory.
Somewhere between here and there, though, is probably prosperity.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that, and nothing was more evident than in the last couple of years when the auto manufacturers renegotiated their wages, when in the middle of double-digit inflation, you have our dock workers and our auto workers renegotiating labor deals.
Yeah.
It shows you how out of touch our unions are with everyday life.
Arrogant American labor. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah, let's do
that. And I'll explain it to you when we come back. Go ahead. Take one.
Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. We don't know where we're meeting our friends yet or which day. We know where we're meeting. We just don't know, but we'll figure that out.
But between now and then, you can go out there and play bingo. It's awesome. Dollar Floor Store. I saw them advertising on a billboard. Carpet, like 72 cents a square foot.
That's crazy.
Get into Dollar Floor Store. Fantastic people. easy to deal with, tons and tons of products for you to see. Hello, Brent Anderson.
The chopping block. Stop on by. It's
today.
Wacky Wing Wednesday. Get your wings, save them for the weekend.
Yeah.
But also they've got the $12 fillets on sale as well.
I'm
So
going by
you can
there
stock up on chicken and beef, and you'll be a
today.
happy man or happy woman this weekend.
Brand us. Reach out to Commander Cody. You can just call him Cody. He can help you with a website presence. You can help him. He can help you monetize your Facebook account. If you've got a business and you advertise on Facebook, it's amazingly effective. But you need a way for Cody to help you expand your presence where you pop up. You ever notice how, you're in the kitchen and you're talking about, of course, you'd be talking to yourself. I understand that. But I'm in the kitchen and I'm talking about, I need to go buy
I'm not
some.
talking to myself. I talk to the dog.
I need to, at least it's intelligent conversation.
Absolutely.
I need to go buy some new shoes, and you go and sit down and a Zappos commercial pops up on your phone. Commander can help you manage that because it does happen. Chesnick Furniture, Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Get in and see why you just always do better at Chesnick. Bobby Leon's there. Go in and talk to the owner. For over 100 years, Chesnick Furniture.
Seriously, you can walk in and say, hey, I'd like to see
I'd like
Bobby.
to see Mr. Leon.
Back to
Please
his
tell
office.
them.
Yeah.
Please say, I heard about you on Wade and Carter. Anytime you have a chance to casually mention, hey, Wade and Carter sure talks highly of you, it means the world to us. It really does. Went Services, Went for all your electrical generator needs and general electrical needs. Reach out to them. They're a what do they call it? Preferred Generac dealer.
Yep.
Generac, American-made generators right here in the USA. White
But
Trash Services.
they've got other brands.
Oh,
if you
they've got them
prefer
all.
as well.
Sure. Kohler. They've
Briggs
got
and
them all.
Stratton, all of them.
Everybody. Yeah. They'll get you what you need, and they can tell you what you need. White Trash Services and White Trash Site Services, always there for trash pickup in the counties and for roll-off dumpsters, and also for demolition and grading of land.
Kathleen Leininger says multiple of our political leaders soothed us into accepting that China is no threat to America, as those same politicians accept money or other bribes from China. We've talked about that in the past, and Peter Schweitzer has a very good book on all of the politicians that Mitch McConnell married a Chinese woman whose dad is a shipping magnate out of China, builds massive ships. You don't think that he's tied to the Chinese Communist Party?
I'm sure
in any way, shape, or form? No, not at all. But what's interesting is we were told, oh, this is great for Americans and great for consumers. So we bought that as a country to the detriment of American manufacturing. And around the world, China not only solidified their trade partners, quietly they were building massive ports in Peru so they could dock their largest warships, quietly taking control of the Panama Canal under our noses. That's what China was doing. This is how they subverted us and went under the radar, under the table, behind our backs, whatever metaphor you want to use, to sneak in, to gain a foothold in the Western Hemisphere, not for economic gains, but for military gains.
That has a lot to do with, again, the world is a big chess game, and you've got to see behind the actions. That has a lot to do with why the U.S. is openly discussing Greenland. That's why. Ports,
and we already have a base there. That's what people don't understand.
Military
we already
presence.
have a base there.
People don't understand that he's really sending a message to China.
And it may not be a matter of taking over Greenland. It may be as simple as telling Greenland and Denmark, hey, we need a bigger base.
Right.
And we need it in Greenland, and we're going to put it there.
That's also why, involving like the sovereignty of borders, that's also why the Gulf of Mexico, adjacent to the United States, has been renamed the Gulf of America. It has a lot to do with the redefining of international boundaries. That's why it wasn't purely Trump's ego.
No.
So I want to shift gears because I'm excited about yesterday. And if any of you had anything to do with this, please take credit, because I was very flattered to receive. Ash and I received it. Of course, Ash was gone. So somebody had to step up, Cody. Somebody had to step up.
I did not do it.
There you go. So I got an email from the governor's
For one.
comms guy, and they invited us to a live, interactive conversation with Governor Abbott. And it was the subject very plainly laid out. I want to talk to you about school choice. I want to tell you about my agenda. I want to tell you why we're doing this. And I want to take your questions. At the end of it, one guy asked a question. He was like, oh, this is so-and-so with WBAP. And it sounded like breaking news. It sounded like that guy, you know? And he was on there and asked a question. The governor answered. And then he said, well, you know, please, somebody unmute your phone and ask a question. And this is what happened. Listen.
And the House has, can we get everybody to make sure you mute your phones, please? But
I'm gonna have to. I saved it. Y'all go ahead because I'm gonna fast forward to it.
Well, Tammy Keeling says China will fill the vacuum left by defunding USAID.
Good.
Question.
Let them do it.
But they already are. There was no vacuum there. China has funded all sorts of stuff that Doge is finding out. In the last, I don't know how many years, even under the Biden administration, how many Chinese spies have we kicked out of U.S. universities and colleges? And there was another one over the weekend that was just found out. I can't remember the school now. But they basically said, yeah, this guy, and he was suspended from his job. Indiana, that's where it was. He got fired from the University of Indiana. And the faculty there are more worried about him being fired and due process of the university not being followed than they are about all the sensitive information that he may have stolen from that university. And he was involved in all their high IT research. Stuff that was used for top secret IT projects by our government.
Okay, play it now.
Okay. So there.
we can, in the next session, recalibrate to make sure we're going to be able to meet that demand.
Thanks, Governor.
Watch this.
Well, we'll listen instead.
Oh,
Governor.
Hey.
Hey, it's Brent Carter with Wade and Carter down in Victoria. Question for you is, if let's say we roll out 100,000 this first year, and just as an estimate, we've got 5.5 million students or more in the state of Texas. Aren't even the most ardent detractors making a big deal out of not really that big a deal?
Well, you're 100% correct. I'll give you an analogy comparison to help you understand why all the arguments by the detractors about how this is going to lead to the destruction of the public education system in the state of Texas are just wrong. And that is, even though this is going to be the largest rollout of school choice ever in the history of the world with 100,000 students, that number of students is only about 25% the size of charter schools in the state of Texas. Charter schools haven't destroyed public education. School choice is not going to destroy public education. Here's the reality of what's going to happen, Brent, and that is school choice combined with charter schools. They're going to provide competition for education across the entire state of Texas. That's going to make every school a lot better. We've seen that in other states. Easy example, and that is the state that has the largest school choice program in the United States is Florida. Florida recently was ranked #1 for education in the United States and has more public high schools in the top 100 than any other state. The point very simply is that school choice programs make public education far better. And we're looking to see that competition that will lift all boats for the education system, that will put all of our students on the pathway to achieve my goal. Listen, by the way, I don't know if I've been clear with you all or the public about what my goal is. My goal is to put Texas on the pathway to rank #1 in educating our kids. As I've looked around the United States and seen the education programs that are #1, I see that school choice is a component of that. So I want to pass school choice, but that's just part of the entire equation. The full equation is to ensure Texas is number one in educating our kids.
How about that? Wade Carter gets on the governor's call
and his radar somehow.
And his radar. That's what's more important to me is I don't know how we and found our email. And so hats off to you folks. If it wasn't for our base, if it wasn't for the folks that listen, you know, we wouldn't be getting that type of opportunity.
Well, I gave him our email.
Did you at some point?
They called Lilo and asked how to get a hold of us over Magic.
Oh, that's
how
right.
it all started.
There you go. So the governor's office called and asked how to reach us. I'm flattered. I'm very flattered because I asked Representative House District 30 Representative Louderback, did you mention us to their comms guy? And he goes, no, I don't know that individual. So there you go.
All right. So Tammy says I missed the whole question. Where's her question here?
Well, you're off your game. You've been gone.
So China will fill the vacuum left by defunding USAID. That's the question she asked. It's a question I answered.
It's not a bad question.
I missed the whole question. Is U.S. handing soft power to China because USAID is gone? Then ask that question.
Right. That's the better.
I'm supposed to deduce what you're really asking? Come on, Tammy. You know better than that.
And my answer is no, we're not ceding any power to China.
We've ceded it decades ago.
Yes. And
I also answered that question.
Torrin Bell says he's sure he had something to do with the governor reaching out to us. I think there's probably a chance. They talk often. But, you know, what I think, and it's not such a bad question, it's don't be afraid of what could happen. What I'm looking at when I see that, originally USAID, while romantic in theory, was an extension of the CIA. That's what it was. It's why Kennedy developed it, was so that we could we might have somebody handing out rice, but they were also counting people, and they were also trying to give the leaders, hey, this is because of democracy. Yeah. This is why we're here for you.
We thought if we just handed bags of cash to certain leaders of despots
100%.
of certain S-hole countries, they'd become our friends.
100%. And over the years, it became undeniably a bloated government, semi-unregulated slush fund. They'd get money, and we reported
and money laundering scheme. I mean, look at how much money we ended up giving to Barack Obama's kids, Hillary Clinton's kid.
Yeah, 60,000 grants last year, and we talked about it. 1,200 grants a week, 1,200 grants a week, Monday through Friday, 240 grants a day, 30 an hour. 30 an hour, 8 hours a day, 50 weeks a year. It's impossible to vet that many things. It's impossible to find 60,000 worthy causes. It's impossible. They don't exist. 60,000, that's just last year. It was purely a money laundering slush fund of a government-supported, a deep state, a swamp-supported program. So if getting rid of that garbage somehow gives China some power, so be it. So be it. At the end of the day, we're better off openly saying we're going to give some money to Uganda because we want them to be our friend. Daddy told me long ago, the U.S. doesn't have any real allies, maybe England, but everybody else is on the dole. Everybody else is in it for what they can get. Yeah. Donald Trump came in unashamedly and emphatically said, America first. He's done it. It's working. The tariffs, my son, great example. My son works for Audi. He's an Audi salesman. Got an email yesterday, official Audi email. Just so you know, there's 37,000 new Audis in the United States right now that are not subject to any tariffs. Please keep selling cars.
Even though their parent company, Volkswagen, said we're not going to send any new cars to the U.S. Maybe that was just Volkswagens because they're not as expensive as
they may not send any, but don't forget they make some here.
Yeah.
They may quit exporting them, but that doesn't mean they don't make them here.
And that doesn't mean they can't retool their factories to start making a few more of them here either.
Yeah, 100%. Zed Stewart says, wow, you actually said that, but I don't know what Zed's responding to because there's a lot of emphatic garbage spewed on this program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda Christ is asking if Canada is part of the UK, and Jarrett says legally, yes. And here's the crazy part. As much as we tried to get out from under in Canada, the United Kingdom and the British rule and the Commonwealth.
You still got Elizabeth on your money, don't you?
Well, no, I think it's Charles now.
Oh, Canada.
But in 1980, was it 81 or 82? Constitution Act.
You think any of us know when it was?
No,
Jarrett may know.
Yeah, well, I can't remember exactly the year, but it was somewhere in that era. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, actually a decent stab at a constitution without the protection of free speech, in my opinion. But anyway, we basically gave up, but we left a few things that the politicians knew that we could leave in. And Brian Mulroney did this, and the Liberals have done this. When they really want to do something that isn't allowed by the Parliament,
right,
they can run to the Queen or now the King and get their approval to actually do it. And both sides have been guilty of doing this when they want to pass things that they want to pass. So it's ridiculous. We ceded a few powers, but
Jared said it was 83 or 84.
Yeah, I could Google it, but I'm not going to.
But now what? So Canada, though,
I think I'm closer.
They're an independent country.
You lose,
right?
you lose the Price is Right showcase for going over.
Aren't they a sovereign nation? Canada,
yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, how do we feel that? In what regard would they? You just said they run to Parliament, but for what?
I think Brian Mulroney did it to add more senators to the Senate, and a few other things. There's been a few other things where they can run to.
Interesting. It's got to be a technicality, right?
Oh, it was legitimately left there on purpose for that sort of thing. So
okay, like for emphasis.
Yeah.
Because
sense. At one point, our Governor General was actually like Canada's liaison to the Queen, and all our legislation used to have to be approved by the Queen.
Is he chewing on something he shouldn't be chewing on?
No.
We're raising this puppy together.
Ash is like the surrogate mother, I see.
Yeah.
Come say this by me. He hasn't seen me for almost a week.
You know something, I'm gonna read this because Tammy sums it up not badly at all. It says, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Stop there if you wanted to sum it up.
If you're on the water in a boat with everything you need, not the case for vouchers, not conservative policy, welfare for the wealthy. See, that's not true. Governor Abbott said yesterday, people say, and I was proud of him because he said, people say this is just a gift to the rich. And he goes, specifically, they say it's a gift to rich white people. He goes, folks, rich white people already send their kids to private school. He goes, what are you folks missing? If rich white people want to send their kids to private school, they do so already. There's not a rich white person in Texas that goes, if I could just get that $10,000 voucher, I'd send little Timmy to St. Joe. It's not happening. So I'll just stop reading there because it makes no sense. Yeah, there you go. Jeff Finley, good morning, my friend. Hope you're doing well. There's Johnny Houghton.
Yeah, 18%. This region, which includes House District 30, the educational attainment rate is 18%. That's how many students are actually getting a college degree, and it can be a little bit misleading in a way. But the state has had a goal since before Republicans took over of raising that. It was there over 30 years ago. It hasn't moved. It's still 18%. Our own former House representative chaired the Texas Education Committee, Higher Education Committee. It didn't move the needle in this region. So what we've been doing hasn't worked for this region at all.
And there's no reason to believe that higher education is the end all. But it is worth noting. Andy Rockvich was here yesterday, and he had a big bound green covered deal that said Victoria Independent School District on it. It is worth
He just
noting
printed that on his 3D printer.
Sure. Worth noting, though, that many states have 65% college ready, 35% that aren't, and VISD is the flip. 35% that are college ready.
And only half of those are
65%
actually
aren't.
going to college and getting a degree.
Absolutely. And it is worth noting that based on roughly 13,000 students, we spent over $17,000 per kid in VISD last year, somehow spending the amazing figure of $202 or $204 million. Now, I don't know how they did that. I don't know where the money came from or went, that we had a budget of like 142 million or 134 million, something much, much less than the actual number that was done.
And the debt load in this district among the
Very
highest
high.
in the state.
Yeah, very, very high.
Yet we've got some of the worst outputs.
No doubt. 17,000. So here's the deal. I think the message to be sent to the public schools of, do you really want to send $10,000 of your tax dollars to a private school, is that somehow, and it can only be through taxes, I don't know whose tax dollars, we've already spent $17,000 per kid in our public schools that just don't work. So I'd rather send 10 to some private school than 17 to a system that doesn't work. And you know what? The competition, educators aren't built for this, but the competition is going to be good. Yeah. It's going to make them go, we got to find a way to teach, test, and reteach. We got to reteach. We got to teach these kids. And people like Sheriff Louderback, our state rep, people like him are going to put the teeth back in discipline that hopefully even allows you to boot those kids out. I've often been a proponent of, by the time you're starting your junior year, if you're not on pace to graduate, here's your certificate for a free GED. Get out of our school. Don't need you here. Good luck. Take care. Here's a shovel. Get to know it. Somebody's going to teach you how to use it later. That's what I would do. No guilt, man.
No.
You got any guilt over that? You're being given an opportunity. The greatest thing you can have is education. I still try to learn something every day.
Me too.
And if you're not trying to learn, then get out. The Shining, get out. That was actually Amityville Horror, but whatever. You know what I'm saying. Whatever. I see dead people.
Have you checked the children?
Oh, that's a bad one. Is that on the phone, right? She answers the phone.
Oh, that was a made-for-TV movie, I think,
Have
wasn't
you
it?
checked the children?
I was scared a lot of babysitters.
Ooh.
Remember then the prank phone calls? Your friend would be babysitting and you'd call.
Mm.
And this was before caller ID, so you could pull it off. Have you checked the children?
Wow. I don't. Tammy, I can't help you there. She's universally against vouchers, but now she's telling you how to make the vouchers more viable. Limit the income that can get them, and you know, make it so the private school has to accept the kid.
That's
I think
the beauty of a private school.
The market will work all that out.
You know what? If a kid shows up with a voucher and you know that kid's a turd as a kid,
yeah,
and they don't accept him, good. That means the private school is actually standing on his values as opposed to just gobbling up the money.
Right.
Unlike our politicians, 98% of them who accept money from everybody and then kowtow and give up their values.
Yeah, that's something you're talking about, accepting money. It was interesting. One guy, and hats off to this, I don't know who the radio guy was. You can find that, I'm sure, on the internet, the conversation with Governor Abbott. But a gentleman did ask, he said, Governor, I've got to ask you, are you going to support opponents for representatives that don't vote the way you want them to on this issue? The governor had pointed out that verbally, like in the hallways, they had the support to pass the measure. He said, but there's a lobbying effort and there's a group of people that have been calling both Republicans and Democrats and hugely being naysayers about the voucher program. And he said, I'm concerned that, we need you to tell these folks that you support this. And for better or worse, the Texas population is for school choice. Now, don't get me wrong. We've said many times here, how can you be against it? Choice is good. So I'm not saying that alone makes it good. But if you ask the average man on the street, are you for school choice? He's not going to bring up any of these negative things about vouchers. No, because little Johnny can't get into Jesuit. That's not going to happen. They're going to say, sure, I'm for it. Maybe something we have to manage, maybe something we have to work with, but it's going to happen.
Here's what I'd like to see. I hope the state, given this chance to work, or say it doesn't. If our education output doesn't improve, then we need to be prepared to scrap the voucher system and start again. Find something else. I hope our state will have the guts to do that. But
Right.
so often in government programs, they just say, well, you know what? It's not working. We need more people to do it.
That's right.
We need more resources because that's why it's not working.
Yeah.
So I hope, and I asked our own representative on this show that very same question, and he said that he would be willing to do that and scrap the program down the road if he was still in office and it wasn't working.
It is interesting that during the campaign, one opponent, or AJ's opponent, was painted as the guy that was 100% for school vouchers. 100% was for him. AJ said, I'm for them as long as they don't hurt the rural school. When AJ won, now the governor's a big proponent of AJ Louderback. And that is something he said. I'm not saying that I'm going to primary people that don't vote my way. I am saying I'm going to support the representatives that do vote my way because this is my number one agenda item.
And I've supported this voucher program since I learned about it. And here's why, Tammy, and I've never wavered on this, because what we're doing in Texas isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting worse and worse and worse instead of better, better, and better.
That's true.
Florida's outcomes have improved as their population has increased. Our outcomes have gotten worse as our population has increased.
True story. Tammy adds that I now support vouchers because I asked the governor a softball question that he hit out of the park. Name a public school the governor has visited in his voucher campaign or a town hall. You'll hear this word town hall because like who could be against a town hall meeting? Yeah. The left does this notoriously because the left wants to get together and they'll get their same 100 people, 50 idiots in the back of the room disrupting the meeting and say, oh, it was a rowdy and raucous event tonight at the town hall meeting. The governor called out by naysayers because people like us that agree with the governor, we stay home on those events. I don't need to go to a town hall to hear what I already agree with. So the people that go are the haters.
And they become non-productive. Even if you want to go and voice your opinion, as you've seen in all the videos that have surfaced around the country from those who've acquiesced to the left, and this is a planned strategy of the left. Oh, we need town halls. We need town halls. We need town halls.
Yeah,
they don't believe in free speech. Let's not forget that the left does not believe in free speech.
No way. I love the conversations that go. I think it's awesome. Kathleen Loninger says, cute, Tammy, you're insulting our host because he thinks differently than you. No, Tammy and I speak very frankly with each other, Kathleen. That's fine. She can do that. And Tammy says, as the winner of the stupid meter, I think it's fair for me to do. We have the TK stupidometer. Totally knowledgeable. That's the TK is
for those that should know better and are smart, but they do something or say something stupid.
Right. That's and
just the TK is it's just a coincidence.
It's a mere coincidence. Totally knowledgeable stupidometer. Now, what's interesting is worth noting, the only person we've ever given the award to is Tammy Keeling. And that's fair. She is the champion. Yeah, like Torrin Bell says, the price of eggs, it works till it doesn't work. Price of eggs, you don't hear about it anymore. Like we've talked about climate change, you don't hear about it anymore. They're not talking about climate change. Where is Kamala Harris right now? She was crying, y'all. Come on now. We got to work on the climate. But that's over. She lost. She's in California, millions of bucks, talking about running for governor. I don't know if you heard that. She's talking about running for governor.
Schools haven't had an increase in funding since 2019. Well, schools haven't had an increase in their outcomes since the 1990s.
But still, while they haven't had an increase in funding, somehow last year we spent $204 million in this district. I mean, I agree that they haven't, it's been $6,190 a kid or whatever since 2019. Okay. But that hasn't stopped the incessant spending. I don't know. And we talked about it here.
And how are we defunding? Nobody's taking money away. They're just not giving them more.
Right. Oh, and since we're on that subject, I listened to the Town Talk visit yesterday. Ashley Strevel and Stephanie Coyazzo, it's Italian. She says that her office, in like a Doge-like fashion, has identified over $1.5 million that will be coming out of next year's budget. Positions where folks are ready to retire, positions that have become vacated or open that are not going to be filled because we're going to consolidate and give those tasks to people that are already on board. She said, make a note, we're not firing anybody.
Sheila Coyazzo, not Stephanie. Just fact check
Sheila
there. That's okay.
Sheila. Okay, we'll get her back on. We're not personal friends yet, but we have had her on the program. But I applaud her for, do you think they understand that that's a shtick that we get names wrong?
I don't think they understand that because it's not.
Right. Thank you. I mean, when I do that, do you understand what I'm saying? No, unbelievable. No, but at the end of the day, she's already identified $1.5 million that's going to come out of next year's budget, which gets us back down almost to $200 million. There you have it.
All right. Frank wants it now. Frank wants to be the other winner of the TK Stu.
Well, if he said the White Sox are going to win the World Series, there you have it.
And that's why we're going to give it to him. Look, I even threw it up on the big screen.
It's on. Look. I want y'all to look at just how fat I was and how dashingly handsome I am today.
Oh, do we need to update it?
We might need a new photo. Look, right there. I'm wearing the same shirt.
I had short hair then too.
I also look like I'm about to have a stroke there on the right. Unbelievable.
You look like
You're welcome.
You look like you may have been having a stroke.
Tammy comes in with the grammar Coyazzo.
It's Italian.
It is.
It's for
I'll be honest.
Italian.
I don't feel comfortable, nor will you just hear me go, I'm going to get that down, Coyazzo, because I don't think that it's appropriate. She is a very smart lady. She is not Sheila to me. That's why I don't know her first name. She's not Sheila. She's important. That's why I call it Mr. Bales. Would never call him TB or Torrin. Mr. Bales. Important people that have it right. So there you have it.
No, that's not doing it.
You're trying to go back.
Yeah, I think I lost it.
That's okay. I'll be fine. Just leave it up there.
All right.
Well, so let's take a quick break. Those are
let's do that.
There we go. Free. USA Concrete Coatings. Sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, whatever you need done to your concrete. Level it. Seal the cracks, put down the toughest nails, polish everything. Coat it won't.
Crack, stick, peel, fade.
Ash is back, people.
Back, folks. I'm back.
Veracruz restaurant today is Caldo Wednesday. Get into the best Caldo on the planet. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Let Allen help you get from here to there. They can do it better than anybody. Been doing it for 50 years. Paravita Wellness. Get in and get healthy. It's helped me, no kidding. It has helped me. I went in and cut out a bunch of carbs, have increased protein. Hello, mother. My mom checking in. Better late than never, Marion. Thank you for supporting this program. By the way, that check is due over at Magic if you're in a good mood. Torrin Bales asks, do you have audio of the drunk lady? We could probably find that. It was about 6 years ago. Bless her heart, I think she died. First State Bank of Louise Astros update. Whew. Astros win last night in Seattle 2-1. I don't know who pitched. I don't know who hit. I know that the Astros Former Players Association, involving Alex Bregman, the American League Player of the Week last week, and Kyle Tucker, the National League Player of the Week last week. Tucker already has 5 home runs for the Cubs.
Wow. Sure. I mean, Wrigley's a hitter's park.
No doubt. But what people have to remember is we got some people for those guys, or at least for Tucker, and I'm not even sure the Cubs will be able to afford him at the end of the year.
Took the Astros 12 to win last night.
They did. But, hey, Seattle's a legit contender.
Caratini got the game-winning single, RBI single, and
it
wasn't a walk-off because we're on the road. But
they put that guy on second base in the extra innings.
The way too
early. I hate it.
Maybe you deserve the TK stupidometer for thinking that the Texas Rangers weren't going to do anything, and they're leading the division right now.
Oh, didn't they do that a couple of years ago, wire to wire, and then just completely die?
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's see who got the win. Who got the win yesterday?
Yeah.
Gusto got the win. And Okert got the save because Hader came in and pitched 2 innings in a close
Sean
game.
Brett with a wonderful point that really sums it all up. He says, assuming the $17,000 per kid is right, and it is, how much more would get the job done? He goes, give me 5 kids to teach at $17,000 each, and I guarantee you I can have them college ready. I guarantee you could too. I guarantee it, Sean Brett. Yeah. Linda says her coffee hadn't kicked in yet. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. We're here for all of you. If you just want to talk about how things are, feel free to call us anytime.
That'd be $85,000 a year for 5 kids. I think I could have them college ready.
I could have them ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what Tammy's talking about.
I don't either, to be honest.
You should really verify your numbers. You've been told with the district's first report before you opine about validity. I saw it in the book. Cody, you saw the book.
I did.
It had a spreadsheet, and it showed where the district's money, and that last number was $204 million. And that was from the district. That was the district's number. I can't help that.
Well, they just don't like the messenger, and that's Andy Rokovich.
Right. Tammy says that she's sorry she forgot it's an opinion show. There are lots of opinions.
Okay, somebody comes in with numbers. How the heck are we supposed to verify them in a live show when they're bringing these numbers?
Right. Well, all I did was look at it. It was a bound book that said VISD on it. It wasn't something that, I'll ask you this. How many of you dispute that it was $17,000 a kid? And how many of you dispute that the results just aren't there? Now, don't get me wrong.
And I know the 6160 or whatever per kid, but that doesn't include all the debt we've taken on building schools and all the other maintenance and all the other stuff.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. The public schools have a mighty hill to climb.
They do.
You've got to take everybody. You've got to find a way to deal with all the special needs kids. You've got to find a way to deal with the mentally ill kids. There's more kids on pills in your schools now than there were on pills in this community 40 years ago. No getting around it. But the results just aren't there. I've got a neighbor. He's still one of the top 10 students in his class. He does a lot of self-teaching, a lot. Brings it home. Does it on his own. So Tammy says the spreadsheet. Now I'll defer to her. She does know the school board. The spreadsheet is not the first report, which, okay. But are you disputing the number? That's my question. Is it off by $60 million, which would get you back on budget? I don't think so. I just don't think so.
Did Tammy see that spreadsheet? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a
And
good
if
question,
so,
Kathleen.
was it for her eyes? She's not on the school board anymore. That's interesting.
Well, was it for Andy Rockovich's eyes? He's not on the school board either.
There you have it. Mission Impossible. There's a new Mission Impossible movie coming out.
Yeah.
The other day, I turned on the TV like mid-trailer, and you just see a guy. It's like a silhouette. The sun is setting behind him, and he's just running. And I go, that's Tom Cruise. Why is Tom Cruise always running in all of his movies?
Oh, do you want to know the
Because if you
answer to
stand
that?
I
still,
do
if
wanna
you
know the
stand
answer to
still, you blows up.
Right? Well, he's always running.
Because he's really old at this point, and they don't want him to look old in the movies.
So they make him run.
So they make it fast.
Right. There you have it.
That's from some article I read at some point recently.
There you have it.
I don't know where it was.
So it's unverifiable. So
Unverifiable.
Yeah, unverifiable sources.
Right. I don't know. It says VISD is not a party to any accountability.
Boy, wouldn't that
lawsuit.
change things with our public schools if they
Yeah.
were?
I will tell you, though, VISD has been condemned in the court of public opinion. That's a problem. VISD has been condemned in the court of public opinion. And Tammy, it started on your watch. It started on your watch when you were an apologist for the tax grab post Harvey that was a literal wallet rape of the Victoria taxpayer. And nobody's forgiven VISD for that yet.
Nope.
It's just a fact. We pointed it out at that time, did we not, sir?
Yes, we did.
At that time, say, as people who had openly been proponents of Dr. Jakovich.
Jacklich.
Yeah, that guy. Hey, Yakinich, got a bone to pick with you. Robert Jacklich. Remember that? Hello, friends. 640 miles of excellence.
Square miles.
Same thing. He was my guy. Loved him. Supported his bond.
So did I.
Got voted down. After that, it's over. It's over. So while our district, relative to other districts, may have financial integrity, it doesn't have voter credibility. So keep running those bonds out there and keep losing, because Victoria's sending you a message, VISD. Welcome to the show, folks. Love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend.
Tomorrow we will talk community center funding with city manager Jesus Garza.
Please tune in. Jesus Garza promises to be. We'll ask him the tough questions if you have some.
I mean, maybe we throw him a softball or two to hit out of the park.
Yeah, because that's what we do. We're all about making friends.
Yeah.
Be good, folks.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
I've been shot at and cut with a knife.